I've got a fun story, though. Psychedelic therapy advocates fear high fees will curb the Colorado industry before it starts. Echo that is really resembling Oregon. Psychedelic assisted therapy is about to become available in Colorado next year. It will be just the second in the U.S. to regulate psilocybin mushrooms. However, advocates in Colorado are watching closely as Oregon's industry faces significant financial challenges that could threaten its success. Oregon legalized psilocybin therapy in 2020, and businesses began offering services in 2023. A year and a half into the program, some service centers in Oregon are struggling to stay open. One center in Portland shut down earlier this year after only 6 months of operation. The high cost of doing business, including licensing, is proving to be a major hurdle. Lafferty, owner of Inner Guidance Services in Albany, Oregon, opened her center in June 2022. In its first year, it served around 165 clients. But when it came time to renew her license at a cost of $10,000, Lafferty had to turn for crowdfunding for help. In a Facebook video, she explained, "Unfortunately, the program in Oregon is not set up in a way where it is profitable, so we do not have the $10,000. Thankfully, the community came together, and within 2 days, 8 people had donated enough to meet the goal." However, Lafferty still faces uncertainty about how she will cover next year's renewal. When you look at what you have to pay for, the facilitators, for the space, the rent, the electricity, everything you have to have, it sums up more than what you make reasonably, she said. These financial challenges are top of mind for Colorado regulators as they work to finalize the cost structure for entrepreneurs in this new industry. While they spent over a year determining facilitator requirements and crafting business rules, licensing fees remain a significant piece to solve. Issues facing psilocybin centers in Oregon echo similar challenges seen in the early days of marijuana legalization, and in the later days too. Rachel Gillette, a Denver-based attorney and head of the Cannabis and Psychedelics group at Holland & Hart Law Firm, noted that businesses dealing with federally controlled substances often are charged higher fees by banks, landlords, and insurers due to the perceived risks, or more likely because those landlords can. We live in a capitalist society. Yay! In addition to these higher operational costs, psilocybin businesses are subject to a federal tax code that prohibits them from deducting operating expenses from taxable income, which drives up the overall cost of business. Those 280E. Everything seems to come with a premium on it because it's something that's federally illegal, Gillette said. Until psilocybin loses its stigma or becomes federally legal in some respect, I will continue. One of the primary concerns for both Colorado and Oregon is how the high cost of services might affect demand. In Oregon, a single guided session can cost thousands of dollars due to the price of the drugs and the facilitator who must supervise the client for several hours. Despite being seen as a mental health treatment, this therapy is not currently covered by insurance. That puts it out of reach for most people. Lafferty, whose center provided $33,000 in free services to clients who couldn't afford to pay in its first year, said, "The biggest thing we learned is that the way the Oregon model is set up, a little over the price range for our target market, which we knew, now it's been confirmed." To stay afloat, Lafferty has added new offerings at her center, including microdosing counseling, low-dose introductory sessions, and group trips, which help reduce costs for clients by splitting the expense among participants. "You're trying to not close, so we are trying a little bit of everything," she said. Jen Kluwe, a co-owner of the Journey Service Center in Portland, which closed in March, emphasized the importance of educating the public about the value of this therapy. While the cost of a guided session may seem high, he said clients have described the experience as equivalent to several years of talk therapy, an intensive process that doesn't come cheap. The value of this needs to be emphasized more and more for folks, not just the sticker shock, but the value. Kluwe now works at another center, Fractal Soul, where she runs its equity program. And other advocates believe that the right approach can make this therapy sustainable, but cost remains a barrier. In Colorado, there is hope that the more accessible thanks to laws allowing healthcare providers to integrate psilocybin into their existing practices. Unlike Oregon, where service centers must operate independently from other healthcare services, Colorado's regulations create a microhealing center license for businesses that only plan to host a few sessions per month. Advocates hope this lower-cost option will provide a smoother path for therapists and psychiatrists to offer psilocybin therapy. Still, proposed fees for these centers have raised concerns. Under the draft rules, centers will pay $3,025, $5,026, $12,000 per year by 2027. And Hughes, a social worker in Fort Collins who offers ketamine-assisted therapy, sees psilocybin as another useful tool in mental health treatment. Eager to integrate into her practice, but the proposed $12,000 fee would be untenable for her small operation. I really don't know anybody in the mental health community who that would be viable for, Hugh said. Have to be a large operation to afford that $12,000 plus in fees. Mathieu St, said, director of the Healing Advocacy Fund, expressed concern at a recent rulemaking hearing that these high fees could make the program unworkable. If we set the fees that high and discourage participation today, it's going to make it that much harder to get this whole thing off the ground in the first place, she said. Regulators will revisit the issue of licensing fees in an October meeting, with advocates pushing for a more affordable path because they would like to see the industry recruited. I think this highlights a big problem with all this emerging legalization. It's very difficult if the insurance companies aren't going to pay, given our current model, for any of this to be sustainable. And we're watching this with the demise of Harborside and all of these other larger industries in cannabis. And now we're starting to already see it in accelerated mode in the mushroom world. Should mushrooms and psychedelics, like most other things such as affordable organic food and a place to live inside, be only for the wealthy? This is St. Germain on Monday. The High at 9 News. Jump on in, folks.
Oh, okay, Lord. Can I ask a question? Because at one point, the woman who was saying that the $10,000 is too much and they simply don't have it. Is that the same woman who was saying that patients need to understand why the fees are so high and understand the value and whatever? Because I don't understand if these practitioners are charging these egregiously large fees, and I'd love to see where that fee structure starts because they're trying to do, the good work for the people. I'd love to see just how much that good work is going to cost me to try and get my life on a better standing.
Right. I mean, the whole thing at this point is fairly ridiculous the way it's set up, because it's not just that one fee. It's the, $10,000 to $50,000 a month in rent to rent a business property. Mm-hmm. It's also the large insurance, and you're going to pay a larger insurance premium because you're doing something that's Schedule 1 illegal. Mm-hmm. It's the higher fees for banking. I know that I'm not sure how it is currently, but for the last several years, to get a banking at a credit union for a cannabis business, it's $4,000 to $10,000 a month extra premium. So it's a lot of these different fees that stack up together.
And to answer
me,
your
the whole
question,
thing is ridiculous. If you have a large amount of trauma, there's definitely a route with assisted talk therapy and psychedelics together, or talk therapy to maybe prime you for being ready for psychedelics. But I would posit at least 75% of the people could just eat some mushrooms at a big park in nature and receive the healing that they need. And eat the mushrooms is still running $15 to $25 most places in America. So you're in, you're out, $15 plus gas to get to the park. Good.
So to answer your question, no, it was a quote from a different person, an attorney in Colorado.
Thank you.
Named Rachel Gillette, and that is different from the gal D. Lafferty who was quoted in Oregon. But both quotes have merit, right? You can't stand up something and do it the right way on a shoestring budget often, and this cost barrier means that we're not talking about wellness and plant medicine for the people if there's a massive price ticket with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I mean,
we see the same thing in the entertainment industry with people who are trying to push into non-alcoholic, healthier events, really having trouble sustaining their model because rents and all of these other cost factors for running an entertainment business are based on the alcohol model, whereby you're buying a $50 bottle, selling $15 drinks, and thereby making a couple $1,000s off your bottle of alcohol. The moment you don't have that alcohol boost, how do you then your entertainment venue?
With cannabis beverages, Mathieu St. Germain, how else?
You mean hemp beverages, brother Jason? Hemp beverages.
Not for long.
That are outlawed in California now.
I don't know. I mean, part of me is like, that sucks. And part of me is like, this is the cost of doing business. And that's unfortunate. And it's true. You can't put something together the right way on a shoestring budget. And there's a difference in business and hobbies, right? And when you turn this into a business and you're going to make it your career, it is going to cost you a significant amount to set up. And that's unfortunate and that sucks, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, especially when we're dealing with landlords and we're dealing with inflation for things where we are in an illicit market, essentially any other time, right? So I don't know. I think, sorry, it sucks. We don't want to pay our taxes either. I'm about to file City of LA taxes and literally pinch my butt the whole time while I do it because every month they take 2% of our gross. So,
I don't know why you're talking about my crumbling cookie and your pinched butt in the same sentence, but I see a spin-off show in the making there. I think what we're trying to talk about here is two separate things, and this intersection about whether healthcare in and of itself should be for profit, right? Because on the one hand, Jenny's got these really great points. Like, look, businesses require resources, and hey, Quinn interrupted me with your production team,
Sorry,
Jason.
bro.
I got the
Apologize.
floor, God damn it. So on the one hand, businesses require resources, and to do things the right way and to not cut corners and to be responsible and to really focus on those patients requires real money, and that means there's going to be a price tag associated with this treatment and service. On the other hand, there is this underlying question about whether anything related to healthcare and medicine should be for profit at all, right? Because when we think of healthcare as a business, then we put on this profit lens and things have to make money and we have to be in the black and yada, yada, yada. I think we would all agree that there are certain things in healthcare, maybe many things in healthcare, that deserve to not be looked at through the profit lens because there is a value beyond profit. And so I think that's really what we're talking about here is if these things are done the right way in the beginning, they're going to be really, really expensive. And that's a barrier to entry for most people. And I don't think most of us would agree that that's fair. And if we look at this through a not-for-profit lens, how would we lower the costs and still do it the right way? And where would that money come from? And how would we balance it out? And how do we justify providing access to people without looking at their bank account first as a prerequisite for being able to receive innovative therapeutic treatments?
I mean, to me, it sounds like the psychedelic industry is almost in a bigger dumpster fire than the cannabis industry, because at least the cannabis industry has a lot of infrastructure built up all around it, and the psilocybin industry is still getting started. But it sounds like it's in the
I think
same spot.
psilocybin's doing fine. It's just when you start to mediate it with business is where it goes wrong, you know? And funny thing is
that
like
commie
these
talk right there.
Right. So these substances tend to actually point to a way beyond just having the fangs out, avarice, profit above all else motive. And I think that what we've seen, and if we look at cannabis, and one of cannabis's messages is really a rejection of greed. And what we've seen is those people have come in with a ton of greed and this will to create exponential wealth at the expense of other people and other people's healths are failing. And what we saw is so many people jumped right from cannabis production into mushroom production, and mushrooms did them the favor of immediately going to zero several times in the first couple of years of this cycle. And just to me, that's a demonstrable lesson. Look at what the mushrooms are showing you. Fuck out if you're just trying to make profit over everything. There's something greater than just money happening in these substances. And the thought that we need some capitalist economy and that fiat currency, which was created for expeditionary wars, colonial oppression of brown people by Europeans across the world, didn't always exist and may not actually, in fact, always have to exist. And if we look at Albert Einstein, who is one of the most brilliant minds of at least the last few hundred years, he talks about how socialism is actually the next evolutionary step from capitalism, where we as a society realize that we actually have to take care of ourselves, and might makes right, and constant warfare and rule by the sword is not actually the most helpful way for our species to inhabit this planet.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. He's going there today. It's a Monday, you guys.
Disagree with him. I don't disagree with him, and I don't feel like I'm so sick of hearing these hippy dippy. We love you so much. We're doing this for the people. That'll be $75,000, your firstborn child, and whatever else you have if you want us to heal you. That's like those things don't align, and it's bullshit. And I don't mind seeing those people have a hard time. Sorry.
There we go.
She's back.
Yep, there she is.
Oh, Jason.
Apparently her weed over has now worn off. Thank goodness. So that is, we're
Shout
glad
out to
have you back.
Space Gems
Yeah,
and my weed over.